2, 1. You're live.
All right. Okay, everyone. Welcome to the January 13th JFAC, Joint Friendship Agreement Committee meeting. We're going to open this meeting at 5:01. We have 2 councillors missing today, Councillors Wilkie, Deputy Mayor Wilkie, and Councillor Sharon Hart from Black Diamond. In attendance, we have both administrative CAOs. Charlene Brown is in-house here in the far corner, and CAO Sharp is in the other far corner. We have Legislative Services Heather Thompson taking notes and minutes. And we have guest, Mr. Paul Lyons from Okotoks, who will be speaking on behalf of the Okotoks Recycling shortly. Just to give a quick once-over on if you want to speak, you can physically raise your hand. Myself and Mayor Goodwin are here at the head table in Council Chambers at Turner Valley. So she will be monitoring the screen for anyone who's given a wave. As well, you can use your electronic hand sign raiser like such, but you'll have to leave the hand up until you're called. So you can do that as well. You know me, I'm usually looking at the screen, I'm looking for a nod. Otherwise, we'll do our best to acknowledge you in the order that you present, and that's as simple as that. So, that being said, can I get an adoption of the agenda? Any additions actually first? I believe we did have an email sent. Did we?
Do you want to cover that in this portion, or do you want to cover it in the amalgamation? Probably the amalgamation, because that's what it has to do with.
Yeah. So, is that an in-camera?
Yes.
Okay. So we have an addition that we'll discuss in camera, and we'll have the appropriate.
No, in the 6 to 9. That's where we'll have.
Oh, in the 6 to 9. Sorry.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay. Yep.
Forget what I just said.
Part of it, if I can.
Yeah.
Part of the process.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, no, we're good. So if I could get a motion then to adopt the agenda as presented. And I see Mayor Goodwin here. All in favor? Raise your hands. Excellent. That looks carried. Now I'm going to ask, is there anyone opposed?
I did.
And none. So, motion is carried.
Just a quick reminder, we need to set what percentage is for what it takes to pass a motion.
Yep, it is 10. 10 is our 80% out of 12. I've got it glued to the back of my iPad, that's why I just flipped you over. Okay. Agenda is approved. Adoption of previous minutes 4.1 from December 9th, 2020. Has everyone had a chance to review those? And if you feel you have and you feel very confident that they are fantastic, then you can make that motion. Jackie, I see a big deep smile there. I'm thinking that might be you. Jackie moves to adopt the minutes. Any questions, any concerns? I am seeing none. All in favor, raise your hands. And that is carried. Any opposed?
I can't see Daryl.
I got Daryl on my screen.
Okay.
And no opposed, so that is carried. Thank you. All right, delegations. 5.1, Okotoks Waste Services Manager Paul Lyons. Todd, would you like the intro, or is it fine to just go straight to Paul?
You can go to Paul.
All right, Paul, thank you for coming tonight. I know you traveled so far to your living room and you put up a white sheet just to make it look good, but we really appreciate you going through all that effort. So welcome to our Friendship Agreement meeting, and we'd love you to tell us all about recycling.
Thank you very much, Mayor Crane, and the rest of your group and team for inviting me out. I have been, camping out sometime from my desk at home, and then going into the office just because the team is working. So what I've prepared for the group tonight are based on a couple of questions or suggested items that I should address to the group. And so I will go through each item that was suggested. You can stop me whenever you want if there is a question for clarification or so. So the first question that was posed was, what would a curbside recycling program look like in Turner Valley and Black Diamond? I will preface the answer by saying that I've been working almost 16 years in the field of waste management, and have been working on different implementation program, whether it is special events or it is a curbside program, similar to what you're asking. I would say that the first thing would be, in terms of timeline, a program could be up and running at about 6 months after council's approval. There would be work that would need to be done for citizen engagement, promotion and education. We would need to order carts. And one thing is we'd have to determine what information is going to be placed on those carts. Then we would get a production time. Sometimes, depending on volume, sometimes carts will be available based on the supplier. Other times it would not be so. There is an option for us to not do an RFP for carts, and that option is available through an arrangement that the RMA has with suppliers. And so there is, I have in my capacity as manager for waste services with the town of Okotoks used this avenue, and it has allowed me to purchase carts. These carts are more expensive. However, I believe that I believe that this would be quite okay to go forward. Then we would be looking at the weather and customer support. Then there would be some transition for carts, as it were. For one thing, Turner Valley currently has a blue recycling card for garbage, so there would be some transition regarding that. And then planning for rollout, if that is at the time when we reach to that. Currently, the garbage service uses onboard tracking system, and during this time, then we would potentially be looking at implementing that data as well. The next thing I would be thinking about would be program design. What items would be accepted in your program and what items you would reject from your program. Then determine collection days. There are two models. Okotoks has one model where everything is picked up one day, may not be the best model. Then there is Airdrie and City of Calgary. They use a different model where garbage is picked up one day, and then the green and the blue cart, recycling and organics, are picked up another day if you have a 3-cart program. So at that time, there will be consideration. All this would tie in with the citizen engagement. There will be potentially, as you design your program, you start looking at, do you need to pick up garbage every week? Or do you use Calgary's model where it's picked up every second week? There would be audits done just to get baseline to understand what your material looks like. And ongoing monitoring. Along with that, in the past, the towns of Black Diamond and Turner Valley had already agreed to partner with us on an RFP that we had issued 3 years ago. And so the provision is already there that you would be able to join with Okotoks using the collection company that we're using and the disposal company or the processing company for recycling. Any questions? I'll move on, if not, to the second question that was posed.
Okay, we've got Councillor Waring.
Yeah, hi, Paul. Thanks a lot for coming tonight and filling us up with some great information, I hope. Just one quick question, please. Whether you do weekly or bi-weekly with garbage collection, is there a significant difference in the cost?
Unfortunately, no. And so based on the cost of service, Okotoks did do a pilot program 2 years ago, and we determined from that pilot program that while there would be significant reduction in garbage, the cost savings would be about 20% maximum. And so it's not going to be 50% as residents normally anticipate, because if you get half the service, there are way more operational issues involved. And so 20% is what I would anticipate going to a every second week collection.
Okay, thank you. I've got Councillor Marconi.
When you say it depends on what type of material we're going to put into the blue carts, why would we not collect the same amount or the same material as Okotoks is, so there's some consistency?
So that is a great question, Councillor Marconi. We have seen over the years where program design, many of us have designed programs based on what another close by municipality has done. And I don't think it has served us as good as it could have or should have. So if we take, for example, the entire BC, that entire province banned glass from its cart. We've seen it happen here in Alberta as well. There are a couple of municipalities that have banned glass from their program, including Lethbridge. City of Lethbridge removed that from their program because they recognize that it was a contaminant. The other contaminant that is there is plastic film. And so my recommendation would be to design a program and not include glass nor plastic film. And I will be having that discussion with the town of Okotoks and the council going forward to see how, in the future, how we can better manage. The fact is, and we all know, the compaction on the truck, and then we have glass shards embedded in paper and in cardboard, which have positive value. And so I believe that those two items are better accepted in a different collection stream or area.
Okay.
Thank you. One last question. The GHG study also suggested that all municipalities that belong to the Foothills landfill should be using the same MRFs. So you gain more value for your product because you've got more volume. Are we going to be going down that path soon? Because I know Okotoks is different than High River.
So at the technical advisor group level, and Councillor Marconi would know that it's a group of technical managers, and we report up through the FRSC. And so 2 meetings ago, we had a discussion regarding how we could look at using different MRF and or at one MRF or amalgamate programs to ensure that we're getting value for money. The town of High River had was looking at an RFP for managing their material, and I had suggested to the group at the time, I've suggested it both to the representative on the tag from each town. Why don't we look at an option for us to manage material collectively? This is something that I have also offered to Craig, who is managing the Eco Center on behalf of Black Diamond and Turner Valley. So those are things that we're working behind the scenes. They cost there are really 3 MRFs that are available in and around Calgary. And Okotoks has an arrangement with one. There is another one. Cost might be an issue. Later this, I would say in another 3 weeks, the town of Okotoks will be posting an RFP for service for processing of or recyclables, where we will be at the end of our contract at the end of July, and so we'll be looking for a processing facility, and the information regarding that we would all have access. And when I say we, it would be Turner Valley, Black Diamond, Okotoks, and any other municipality that might want to join us. The provision was always there for High River to join us. Nanton was the only town from the commission that did not join, and so we'll have those discussions with them to see if we can send the material to one facility.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Just to clarify, so the new program that you will be presenting to Okotoks in the next quarter would be you're looking to remove glass and plastic. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. I see Jackie's hand here. Guys, just so you know, and I've got Charlene, Mayor Goodwin's camera on all the screen has gone out, so she's monitoring the chat lines, and she can see electronic signals like Jackie's hand. So please feel free to use that little icon. So Jackie, you're up, and then CAO Brown.
Hey, Paul. So when you say you're taking it out of the carts, but you're still taking it at the Eco Center, is that correct? Glass and film, plastic film? Yes.
So currently, Okotoks is collecting glass. I think over the last 12 months, residents have dropped off 20 tons of glass. And right now, Okotoks is managing the glass for the entire region that's collected. Clear glass, that is. The program we had in place, we were able to collect that glass, and we were then transporting it to different places for processing. That market fell flat a few months ago, and so we're looking at some different options. The technical advisor group has some information that I sent to them yesterday, and so they will be looking at options to manage glass. The same thing for plastic film. We have been managing plastic film. Residents and the service we provide is for Okotoks and all members from Foothills County, all residents from Foothills County, and so we do get a lot of plastic film, and so I know this has only been discussed internally, as it were, with our administration about how we can clean up the material. It will also determine on what the MRF that we will be sending the material to is able to accept.
Okay, thank you. Is that follow-up, Jackie, or are you good?
I'm good.
Okay, CAO Brown, you're up.
So
And then Councillor Gordon.
So just to confirm, Paul, because you did say that there would be no collection of plastic, I just wanted to confirm that it's plastic film that there would be no collection of.
You're correct. Plastic film.
Just plastic film.
Just plastic film.
And plastic film.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Gordon.
So in reality, without picking up these two specific items, how much extra goes into our landfill?
So I'm not sure I get your question. You're trying to figure out what is going into our landfill.
Well, if we're not picking up glass and we're not picking up plastic film, and there's certain other plastics that no longer have a market, how much increase are we actually seeing going into the landfill?
I'm not sure how much extra. However, I will say regarding the plastic that the town of Okotoks has been collecting, so residents have been dropping off at the Eco Center. We have not had any issues with marketing, and I am fairly comfortable that the plastics that we're sending out, including plastic film, are being managed responsibly. It's going to a local company, and that company has a processing plant right here in Calgary as well. And so I'm saying that we're able to divert most of the plastic that we're currently collecting. As it relates to what is happening at the landfill, I would say taking glass out of a recycling program will result in about 7% glass being diverted out of the cart. Plastic is close to a 1% or less than 1%, so not a huge impact.
Okay, thank you, Paul. I have Lana, Councillor Hamilton.
Hi, Paul. Thanks so much for taking the time to join our meeting tonight. We received from one of our councillors that was unable to attend 3 questions to present. So I was just going to, on behalf of our Councillor Wilkie, ask some questions. One of them I think you just touched on a little bit, but the first one was, does Okotoks have procedures in place for tracking where all recyclables ultimately end up? And could reporting on this be provided to our communities, particularly on plastics? We've all seen the news stories that speak about plastics recycling ultimately ending up in landfills, either in Canada or burned in other places around the world. Understanding the challenges of the current plastic market, but he's thinking that transparency in this regard is key.
So I just spoke about what is happening in the material that we collect. I think one of the discussion that we have not had in Okotoks, or most jurisdictions haven't had that discussion, is what is acceptable management of plastic. And so plastic in BC, for example, a lot of it goes to Lafarge to be burned. And so I think, and you're all representatives and administrators, I think that's a topic that we need to address. what is acceptable management of plastic. To answer your question directly, I get a monthly report of what happens to the material that we're currently sending to the MRF. And while there is, I am not able to independently track, I'm confident that where the company is saying it's sending its product, I take it at face value, and I trust the company that it's doing so, because when it sends it overseas, companies have also reported that it was sent to Indonesia or Malaysia or India, things like that. So I think they have been quite transparent with us when it comes to how they're managing the plastic and where it's going. And I agree with you. We need to be able to tell our residents that this is what has happened to your plastic. Did that answer all your question?
Thank you. I think it did. I think Councillor Wilkie's main concern here was being able to ensure that, like you had said, that the plastics are being managed responsibly and that we are able to report and communicate this to our residents, I think is the key there.
And I support that, and we'll be able to, in a program, provide that information for that level of transparency, yes.
Excellent. Lana, did you
is it okay with the chair?
Marconi? Yep. Lana, you can finish up. I think you had another 2 questions, right?
They were, yeah, the total of 3 questions sent in from Councillor Wilkie. I'll proceed if that's okay.
Yeah, please do. And then Marconi will go after.
Okay. Next question was understanding the incremental service that we will receive at an increased cost of using Okotoks versus a private contractor. Jamie has noted here that that's about $3 to $4 a household per month of additional cost, which works out to about $90,000 to $120,000 per year. Understanding that Okotoks would be managing the program, private contractors would not, but he just wanted to get a clear understanding of exactly what additional services that we would be receiving for the increased incremental cost.
I am sure the CAOs for each community may have alluded to some of the service. So one advantage is all carts, for example, are managed. So replacing carts, repairing carts. We have added we have the capability for seeing all the carts that are collected from on any given day. We're managing all the customer service related issues, and I'm really hoping that the managers from Turner Valley and Black Diamond would be able to respond to some of the other benefits that they have gained by Okotoks managing this program. So it's a complete management program that we're offering for almost everything. One of the things that we did as well was the communication piece. And we will continue to provide communication support to Turner Valley and Black Diamond. So just to ensure that whatever service that we are currently offering will be second to none, as it were.
Okay, thank you. And Jamie's last question, would there be any use or need for our existing recycling depot? And would Okotoks provide any additional services for drop-off beyond curbside pickup for the cost that's been quoted?
So I'll just defer that question. It's the second point on my presentation.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks so much, Paul.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you for that, Paul, and thank you, Councillor Hamilton, for bringing Councillor Wilkie's, Deputy Mayor Wilkie's questions forward. We'll go to Councillor Marconi.
Yes, thank you, Paul. Going back to the RFD that you're going to be going out to the MRFs, I've toured all three, and all three are not equal. And that's something to sort of keep in mind, because you mentioned costs. Well, yes, just because one's a little less costly than the other, or another one may give us more value, I think you also have to look at what they're doing with the material as part of that decision, because some are dumping it into a landfill, and some are actually, because they have worldwide contacts, they're able to move this product in the right places versus sending it to Indonesia just to have them throw it out. So we have to know what the end use is going to be, really.
I agree with you 100%. The only other thing that I would say needs to be factored in is how much is that potentially going to cost our ratepayers? And I know that all councils are extremely interested in those costs. And so our RFPs are always designed to address things like cost and put a weighted value to cost. It always put a weighted value on service, including how the material is being managed. And so those would definitely be taken into consideration to ensure that whatever company that we decide to use is not only going to give us value for money, but it's going to also manage the material responsibly.
Okay, no, thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Marconi. Okay, Paul, why don't you just continue on to your second side?
So this should answer Councillor Hamilton's question. And the question that was posed, would there still be a need for a depot if there was a curbside program? So just speaking about the service that's provided in Turner Valley and Black Diamond, that oil field center also provides service for Foothills County. So the reason for a depot with a cart program, as I see it, are things like cardboard. There are always cardboard that can't hold in a regular cart. Then there are hazardous waste material, batteries, paint, electronics that are all collected. Just in September of last year, the Alberta Recycling Management Authority included almost 800 new items that can be collected, electronic items that can be collected in a 2-year pilot program. And so material that was ending up in the landfill will no doubt be diverted if there is somewhere to put that material. With a cart program, we're still going to have these material, batteries, styrofoam for some places like Okotoks, and paint and other electronic products. So as it stands, I believe that there's a place for a depot. There is an alternative to managing paint, and those are yearly roundups. I know Foothills Landfill will do a couple of roundups. This was done after changes were made to collecting hazardous waste from fire halls. And so about 3 years ago, the commission, which managed the collection of household hazardous waste, made the decision to discontinue collection at the fire halls. And a lot of this was for safety reasons. Okotoks did not direct its residents to go to the landfill to dispose of hazardous waste. We continued to collect hazardous waste at our eco center. And this was because we didn't want residents to say, I'm not driving to the landfill, throw it in a garbage truck, which have other safety implication, not just for the truck, but for the landfill. So we didn't go there. So as it stands, I called a couple of municipalities around us, and I asked about their impression. I spoke to Chestermere this morning, and they said, yep, they would not recommend not using a depot. Okotoks uses one, Cochrane does, Airdrie does. The town of Nanton did not. And so they moved away, they shut theirs down. And I'm not able to speak to the model that they currently have, but in talking to the operations manager, it sounded as if residents had to pay the contractor to utilize the service that's there. I think that based on the GHD report, looking at how we can amalgamate market material together, reduce opening hours if that is required, and then I think that we could look at a model. I also see that the depot is a public good, as it were, quite similar to education. And so Okotoks, for example, collects a fee from all utility accounts in order to manage its current eco center. And so that could be a model that could be utilized in order to help to deal with some of the costs associated with managing, I'm going to say managing plastics. Long gone are the days when we are going to make money from recyclable. And so I think we need to now start understanding that these environmental initiatives and services that are offered by municipality is going to come at a cost. And unfortunately, it is our ratepayers who bear the brunt of this. And so my recommendation would always be to design programs that are going to contain cost and still achieve high environmental outcomes. There is a very, very, I'm going to say, good reference from that GHD report, Appendix 5, page 5, that look at some of the costs associated with this kind of a program and maintaining a depot, as it were, based from a cost perspective. Okay, questions?
Okay, thank you, Paul, for that. I've got Councillor Hamilton up.
Thank you. Just to follow up in regards to the depots accepting materials that the bins can't handle, I think it's important to note that the Turner Valley Depot does not accept paint, does not accept batteries, does not accept styrofoam or household hazardous waste. So the only item in the list that was noted there would be electronics that are accepted at the depot. Other than that, our recycle depot pretty much accepts what our cart would accept. So I do think it is important to note that we aren't accepting some of those items that are noted.
Thanks. But do we know what is happening to those material? And I'm going to assume that residents are driving it to the landfill for proper disposal, or they're throwing it into the garbage cart. And I have seen, and I spent 5 years working just with hazardous waste. And in those 5 years, I've seen lots of things that are not even nice to talk about in terms of reactions with chemicals. But I've also seen where in a previous job in back out east, where a garbage truck caught fire and we had to dump everything in the road because of what was inside the truck. And it was attributed to improper disposal of chemical. And so that to me is, if we understand what residents are currently doing with that material, then I think we would understand how to best manage it. And I did offer the option of having Roundups. I think Roundups do have a place. I've also looked at, seen models where they have municipalities have decided to discontinue Roundups because it did not address my moving out of my house tomorrow. And I can tell you, I have probably 20 different cans of paint in my basement. I have nowhere to take it, and I probably could throw it in my cart and then say whatever happens, happens. So those are some of the things that I think we need to be aware of and to find solutions. Quite often we design programs and say, well, it is great and convenient, but it actually isn't. So I'm just hoping that through any program design, we'll address things like that.
Excellent. Thank you, Paul. Jackie, you're going to be next here. I just wanted to address just quickly, Paul, the roundups we do have worked out quite well. We have them over at the transfer station just between us and Black Diamond over by the bridge. So we do have those programs, and they've been working just fine. Jackie, you have the floor. Go ahead. And then we're going to move on to the organics conversation.
Okay, I was just going to say that there's nothing saying going forward that we cannot revamp the recycling depot and make it more efficient for more of the people.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was actually thinking along the same lines. We have the equipment, the compactors. So there's obviously a broad discussion that needs to happen at the council level that would address those things as Paul has outlined, I believe. It's that bigger picture, the clarity around where is all the material going. Let's have it accountable. Let's be accountable to the public and so on. So I think we're leading up to that big conversation for sure at some point. But in the essence of time, I'd like to move on to your third one, Paul, and if you could touch on the organics component for us, because that's a big part of the Okotoks model, and whether or not that'd be something that we'd want to move into. And if you could also include the cost as of right now, if Turner Valley and Black Diamond were to sign on tomorrow, what would that cost be?
So thanks for that, and that was my next topic, and I'll tie it in with the landfill as it were. So some basic benefits for having an organics program: higher environmental outcome if we talk about greenhouse gas, the ability to reuse fertilizer, compost. It's a more complete fertilizer than the inorganic one that we purchase at the store. And landfill wise, it is one of those items that we would need to remove. There was a supplemental report that was provided, and it was a landfill analysis, and they speak to organic management, and they pointed out that landfill, as we know, produce greenhouse gas because of anaerobic condition that exists in the landfill. And I will quote a couple of sentences from that report. It says, greenhouse gas emitted from landfills are regulated under the Carbon Competitiveness Incentive Regulation. So it's CCIR, or Technology Innovation and Emissions Reduction Regulation. And it says both these bodies regulate facilities that have surpassed their 100,000 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emission each year. Once you reach that threshold, then you will have to start paying carbon credits. So in a nutshell, what it says, they're regulating carbon emission. If our landfill reaches that stage, then we will have to pay for that, and it's way more expensive than, it will prove to be way more expensive than us diverting that material now from landfill. There is also the Airspace Optimization, and the GHD recommendation in that supplemental report was to accept waste only from member municipalities and to limit the amount of non-residual waste. And in brackets, they had recyclables and organics that is currently accepted at the landfill. They also recommended a space evaluation and landfill life cycle analysis. The commission have, I think, already, and Councillor Marconi can correct me if I'm incorrect, but I think the space evaluation and landfill life cycle analysis and the airspace optimization as recommendations were approved by the commission to be undertaken in 2021 to better understand what the space was and what the airspace was available, so that we can understand life cycle. We can also, a curbside organics program would also reduce the amount of material that's going into the landfill, thereby preserving this landfill for many generations to come. I think the understanding is there won't be another landfill, and maybe the technology will be there to manage the material that we're currently producing. But I would recommend that based on today's technology and today's situation, that we should do whatever we can to divert this material from landfill. In order for us to do that, to answer your question about cost, this one, I had sent over a proposed cost to, I'm going to say, CAO Brown. She had some numbers that she would have shared originally with this group. And that was based on a couple of calculations. The going market rate for disposal of organics is almost catching up with plastic, and that's going to be a challenge. The second challenge is we currently don't have a facility that is close enough to us or might be able to fulfill some of the requirements for good management program. So there are facilities, but we've seen a lot of these facilities being locked down. So that's definitely a concern for organics management right now. So a few months ago, the town of Okotoks went out for request for information or expression of interest to see what was available, what kind of technologies out there, and what companies are there that could manage this product responsibly. And we got some response regarding that. And so we will be developing an RFP and see where we'll be able to send our material. We will be out of contract later this year as well with our current provider for that service. And so we wanted to get to start looking at some of the options before we put an RFP out. So Councillor, I would say not Councillor, CAO Brown had a proposed number. There is one thing that bears into cost as well. And there's always going to be a cost for carts. And that number did not include that. With the tag, we have had some discussion around who could potentially purchase carts for us. And I think administration will be approaching council with some suggestion on how we could get carts. There is an example from July of last year where the Regional District of East Kootenay approved a grant for the city of Cranbrook to purchase recycling carts. And that was done in a view to ensuring that there is enough carts in a good diversion program put in place to meet high environmental objectives. So I think that is how I think that's an example of what was done. I think there could be other avenues for us to explore that would allow us to purchase carts. And then what would happen? I will have that discussion with administration to determine if Turner Valley and Black Diamond would be interested in being parties to any contract that we have that we enter into with collection and processing company that would allow us to get volume pricing. And I think that is the way that we have to continue operating, get volume pricing, and that will help us to keep the cost down.
Thank you, Paul. Now, just to be clear, because this was part of our conversation at the last meeting, so we really wanted to nail it down. The cost is a per month number, not a per pickup number. Is that correct? So it'd be roughly
that is correct.
$780 per month for the program, not including carts.
That's correct. And one thing that could be done, if there was a charge for carts, then I know some municipal finance department just don't like to, or quite hesitant to implement just another holding area for this small amount of money, to say, okay, we're going to put it in a reserve, and then when we need this money, then we'll go back for this money. Most of the carts we buy come with a 10 to 12 year warranty, and I believe that they can, carts could be funded through a yearly operating budget to replace carts that are damaged by the trucks. And really, they're right now in Okotoks agreement with its service provider. It doesn't matter which one. We examine all the carts that are managed, that are damaged each month, and we bill them back for those carts on a monthly basis. So, and there are carts that Okotoks have used. We've used carts from 2 different service providers, and we have some carts that are almost 10 years old, and the only ones that have been damaged are the ones that were damaged directly by the trucks or by residents.
Excellent. Okay, just to keep us moving, I've got 2 questions for you, one from CAO Sharp and then one for Councillor Waring. So we're just going to go straight to those, and we're going to try and wrap up by 6 if we can. So CAO Sharp first, then Councillor Waring.
Sure. Thanks, Mayor Crane. For Paul, just for clarity, because I've heard two messages now around the $7.80 price that we've talked about. So first of all, the information that I received for you is that $7.80 included about an 80-cent surcharge for carts. So I just want to make sure there's no confusion on that. And the second thing I wanted to be clear on is that the price that you sent us is a straight across full cost price. There is no surcharge management fee attached to that. So just for the group's benefit, can you just briefly verify that I am correct on my assumption?
So the 780 does not include a cart fee. And the cart fees could only be determined based on where we get the carts from and the design that we decide to use. There is a small management fee involved in that $7.81, and that is based on some of the risk that are involved in managing contracts like this. If tomorrow the company that is picking up the recycling should fold, Okotoks managing this contract would be responsible for finding an outlet to collect all the waste as agreed upon in our contract. So it does contain a management fee. It also includes cost for collection, disposal, small management fee, but that management fee also takes in cart management, use of lateral system, and use of our customer service system in order to help residents. And it would also include any communication or any other service that Turner Valley and Black Diamond would require. And so by the time we get to the fee that is proposed, I'm sure administration would then sit down and have a discussion to determine what those fees are, what that management fee should be, and then we'd have a clear discussion and have that transparency so that information would then be shared with council afterwards, what that looks like.
Thank you.
Excellent. I've got Councillor Waring, then Mayor Root.
Yeah, you might have already answered this, so I apologize if you have. But when you're talking about the monthly fee includes all the costs basically. And then when you were talking about the cost of carts, we're talking about the capital cost of buying the initial carts, I guess, and that's not in it. But any replacement of carts would be in it.
So for me, replacement of carts would be a number, and right now it's funded through an operating budget. We don't lose a lot of carts each year, and so even the number of carts that it would be a purchase would be dependent on the needs. When I started calculating for carts, I looked at a truckload, as opposed to, and a truckload is 1,309, as opposed to maybe 1,150 carts that would be needed by Black Diamond, or 1,200 carts that would be needed by Turner Valley, with a small amount to replace to deal with growth and other miscellaneous activities. So I would not have calculated a cart replacement, but cart replacement would be 10 to 12 years down the road, because if the truck damages the cart, then the collection company would be required to pay for that cart and replace it. And if it is, I don't know what your policy is on if it's a resident who drove over that cart, if they would have to pay, that would be a council's decision on how that cost is recouped. And if it is a manufacturer's damage, then it's covered for 10 to 12 years with a close to a replacement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I've got Mayor Goodwin, and guys, just so we're acknowledging it, we're just coming up on 6 o'clock, where we're going to be continuing on with Maven and so on. So I think we can wrap up the recycling conversation. We have in camera as well. So Mayor Goodwin, if you would.
Thank you. Paul, my question is to you, and it's with regards to your transparency with regards to the management fee. And I'd like to know, in the course of a year, if we do not exercise the percentage of that management fee to deal with the risk mitigation, whether or not we would be experiencing a rebate at the end of each year.
So that is something that I would expect both administration when we meet to have that kind of discussion about that fee and how it's applied.
Okay. That's a future conversation, I'm guessing then. Okay.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
I'm just having to scan across my screen here, Paul. I think that's going to wrap it up. That answers the main thrust of questions that we really want to clarify. So thank you for coming tonight and presenting and giving us all these points of clarification. And have a great and a safe new 2021. And I'm sure we'll be in touch anyway, and enjoy the commission meetings, I'm sure.
Thank you very much for having me, and it was a pleasure being here. And I can be reached for clarification as usual. Thanks.
All right. I'm not sure if the councillors want to talk to you or if they were waving you goodbye. I think they were waving you goodbye.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thanks for tuning in, Paul. Take care. Enjoy the hockey team.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so guys, we have joining us now, we have Steph and Lauren and Linda Reynolds. And I got to swing over. We have Barbara. Ruth. Me and Ruth, we got private jokes going on up here. So just so you know, on my screen now, we've maxed out, so I have to swing screens back and forth. So we're going to do our best to make sure that we're seeing all the hands as they're raised. So just leave your iconic digital hand up and we will get to your questions. Question for administration. Are we going to be going in camera for the rest of this session and then coming out later, or are we going to close this meeting down and open another one for Maven?
No, we'll be
continuing.
Take a short recess and then move in camera for the remainder of the meeting.
That's what I wanted to know. So video is going to go once we
recess. I'll put it into closed session. So
perfect. So why don't we take a 5-minute recess right now, guys, just so everyone can get their fresh coffees, and then we'll shut down the live video.
if we could go in, make the motion.
Make a motion, go camera first.
So that I can shut down the video.
Sure. Okay. So we're just going to take a motion to go into camera first, so then we can stop the video, and then when we come back, we'll be rolling. So, all right. So I'm going to take that from Councilor Marconi. A motion to go in camera, sir. Thank you. All right. Councilor Marconi makes that. All in favor going in camera at 6:04. Hands up, nice and clear for the screen. Thank you, that's carried. Is there anyone opposed? Turn on your microphone and vocally say so now. Seeing none and seeing happy faces, we are now in camera, and we will take our 5-minute recess now, guys. Get freshened up, and then we'll come back